You may be experiencing a ceiling in your business and you're not knowing why. And you may have put in more effort, more work, and for some reason you're not breaking through to the next level. Well, I'm here to tell you it has nothing to do with your hustle and your grind and your work ethic. It has everything to do with your internal operating system and what's going on within you. Now, before I get into how we can actually fix this and shift out of this and go to the next level, why the heck would you listen to me? Well, I currently run a multiple seven-figure online hypnosis therapy business where we work with clients one-on-one, and also 7 figures in training and certifying people in hypnosis. And I've gone from solopreneur, not knowing anything about this space, to scaling very, very quickly within a few years. And what that came down to wasn't necessarily about my work ethic. That was one of it. It was more of, as I hit these new levels of success, what was going on internally? What beliefs that I had that were keeping me stuck at these plateaus? And the faster you're able to rewire those internal beliefs, the faster you can go to that next level. So let's dive into why this is happening. So one of the first reasons why more effort doesn't work at higher levels is because you are using outdated strategies, okay? You know, when you are a solopreneur, the same strategies don't apply to when you have a team. And when you have a small team, those same strategies do not apply as you have a bigger team, and so on and so forth. And so what ends up happening is people are working really hard, however, they're working on the wrong things, right? It's like you're going really fast on the highway, except you're going in the wrong direction. So ultimately, what's gonna get you to your destination faster? Keep pressing the pedal to the metal, going in the wrong way, or shifting direction, going half the speed, but knowing that you're going the right way. So now when you combine both, when you combine the work ethic with the proper strategies, that's how you really throw gasoline on the fire and break through those plateaus. Now, on an advanced level, not only is it working on the proper strategies, it's also making sure that your internal operating system is in alignment. You see, what happens is, as we start to scale, and again, I had to break through beliefs about delegation, leadership, management, all the things, worthiness, you know, the guilt for charging more, the guilt for whatever the case may be. I've been through it all. And what ends up happening is, even if you're doing the right strategy and you're working hard, but your internal beliefs are not in alignment, what ends up happening is that leads to self-sabotage, procrastination, and we simply don't even know why. Often what will happen, what I see more often than not, is those blind spots, right? Those subconscious beliefs that whatever, you can't trust people as you delegate, or you're not worthy, or you feel guilty for doubling your prices, or whatever, okay? When you have those beliefs, often the correct, proper strategies end up getting blocked. And for those of you who know about the subconscious mind, you know about the reticular activating system, you know that our reticular activating system seeks out in our environment the thoughts that align with the beliefs in our mind, right? This is why when you start to focus on something, what ends up happening, you start noticing in your environment. That's your reticular activating system. Well, if you have a belief that, you know, going from 1 million to 5 million is going to be challenging, well, then that's what you're going to create in your reality, okay? So we're going to talk about how to break through some of these beliefs here in a moment. Okay, number 2 is effort triggers resistance when your identity isn't in alignment, okay? So similar to what I talked about a moment ago is when you're putting in a lot of effort, but you're not going anywhere, what happens is it's actually gonna have the opposite effect, right? Because if you're doing all this work and nothing is changing, eventually what's gonna happen is internally, subconsciously, your subconscious mind's gonna go, man, I'm doing all this work and nothing's happening. And that's gonna lead to sickness, car accidents, you know, self-sabotage, or whatever the case may be. So it's important that when we align those belief systems, that where effort we're putting in, we're actually getting a return on that. We're actually seeing a difference, because when you do, that's what allows your subconscious mind to go, oh, okay, I'm putting in all this effort and it's working. Let's keep doing more of it. Because again, if not, it'll do the opposite. And number 3 reason people get these bottlenecks is they have limiting beliefs, okay? In a negative perspective around delegation, first and foremost, and I'll go over what the next one is. You know, you've probably heard people say, nobody could do it better than me. Maybe you've said that yourself. Or you feel like you can't trust people, or people are out to get you, or everybody's gonna screw you over. All of those beliefs, or here's another one, there's no good people out there, right? Well, you know, aren't you people as well? Aren't you out there? So if you're good and you're a person that's out there, that means there are good people out there. So when you have these limiting beliefs around delegation, again, the reticular activating system is going to block you from finding the person that you can trust. It's going to block you from finding the good employee that's going to be loyal and stay with you for a long time. It's going to be a hard worker. It'll block you from finding the leadership and the management to put in place to be able to scale and operate your business. So you've got to dive into what are your limitations around delegation? What are your limitations around these different areas? When you do, boom, suddenly the right employee comes in. Suddenly and it's like, I've had so many times these people come out of nowhere, right? So making sure you dive into that. Number 4 is you have limiting beliefs around leadership, okay? And again, these are all things that I had to work through myself when it went to hiring my first assistant, and then hiring my first salesperson, hiring my first therapist, and then growing and hiring my first manager, my operations person, and at these new levels, okay, I had to develop myself as a leader. Now, you can do things like reading books and watching videos and doing trainings on that, which are absolutely gonna help. The challenge is though, is if internally your beliefs around being a leader are not in alignment, a lot of that stuff isn't really gonna sink in, right? And I know one of the things that I struggled with is I believed I wasn't good enough to be a leader. I even felt guilty for leading people because I felt as though, hey, if people work within my company, then that's keeping them small, right? I'm not letting them grow and become entrepreneurs and whatever the case may be. So these are just little beliefs that I had, which ultimately I worked through and realized that actually when people are on my team, this actually helps them grow. By people being associated with me, it actually helps them get to their goals even faster, not going out necessarily doing it on their own. So these are just little examples of, again, the bottlenecks that keep people stuck in these different areas. Next is guilt or resistance around charging, okay? Now, I started off doing hypnosis for free. As a matter of fact, my first 100 clients that I work with, I didn't charge anything. And then I started off charging $100 a session, and then $200, and then $300, and $400, and $500, and then $1,000. And now I charge $5,000 an hour with a $50,000 minimum. By the way, if this is an old video and you're watching this later on and you reach out, that may not still be the pricing, it may be double, I don't know. So just be prepared for that because I don't like discussing pricing in video for that reason, just in case it goes up and people expect it. Anyways, I digress. Point is, here's the thing. When you have that guilt or resistance around charging more, it makes it very difficult to scale your business. So what I have found, I experienced this myself, coaches, trainers, therapists, healers, they get stuck at a certain price point and they feel guilty for charging more. So what ends up happening is their schedule's completely booked out. They're working 5-6 days a week from morning to night. They're making good money. However, they're burning out and they're afraid to charge for more, and they're afraid, they feel the guilt and the shame and all that different stuff. So you've got to work through that resistance, begin to feel in alignment with charging more. And what ends up happening is, again, if you're just working around like a hamster on a wheel, you have no time to build the systems and processes and strategies to be able to scale, to be able to bring even more people on. And so when you're doing that, essentially, yeah, you're making good money, but you're not able to grow and expand like you want. So once you can do that and you can start to raise your prices, well, suddenly you can make the same amount of money in less days, and now you have those other days to work on your long-term business. And sometimes, you may even need to make a little bit less money so that you can build those long-term systems, processes, and teams to be able to scale your business, right? So this is this is something I see, especially with people that are healers, right? Your hypnotists, your people that are in like breath work, somatic healing, all these different areas, they feel so guilty because they feel as though, hey, this is a gift that God gave to me and I should be able to share it with the world. The challenge is if you do that too long, you're gonna end up burned out and you're not gonna be able to help anybody. If any of this is hitting home for you, hit that like button and let me know where you're feeling stuck. And I may be able to direct you or answer a question for you that may give you that next little that you need to take it to the next level. And you want to be able to identify where you are stuck in these different areas, what the bottlenecks are for you so that you can scale your business and go to the next level. My team and I are providing a free hypnosis assessment where we do a deeper dive into where you're at, what's keeping you stuck and where you want to be, and how we can help you get there in a fraction of the time. So again, if that's you work with people one-to-one or one-to-many, you're a trainer, coach, therapist, counselor, healer, click the link down in the description and book your free hypnosis assessment now.